welcome you to the 50th anniversary of our center. I want to share with you something kind of exciting. It's literally a coaster from my CUES. And on the back of this coaster was the result of a meal with Bob Graham and John DeGrove in 1972. And on the back of the coaster, they sketched out the Center for Urban and Environmental Studies, and they have Dr. DeGrove as the director, and then a staff and org chart underneath of this. And I just find this incredible that from this one little teeny piece of paper about 50 years ago, we are here tonight to celebrate a tremendous amount of achievements that have been achieved as a result of the hard work that Dr. DeGrove and many of you who have worked for him and all of us ever since have been able to achieve. And the work that the Joint Center, now we call CUES, has been doing is instrumental now more than ever before in the history of Florida. Harvey Oyer, who many of you know, was telling Raphael and I recently at a Cub Scout camp out, I believe, that there is more building construction going on right now than the history of West Palm Beach. And the amount of design, the architectural integrity of the architects and the firms moving here is unprecedented. Of course, with development, as we know, comes a lot of issues, and CUES is working at the heart of these environmental issues about traffic and mobility, sustainability, resilience, climate change, and affordable housing. Focused on creating a community of opportunity for all, Mayor James has a vision for West Palm Beach that is resident-driven, focused on neighborhood initiatives, regional collaboration, and community partnerships. And I'm proud to say that we have worked very closely with Mayor James, and the partnership has been outstanding and very exciting to continue to work with them into the future. Senator Bobby Powell is someone who needs no introduction in this audience. As we were discussing, the only planner ever elected in the history of the Florida Legislature. Bobby Powell has served. He has served in the Florida Senate since 2016, previously in the Florida House of Representatives since 2012. He joined Urban Design Studio in West Palm Beach in 2013, and he's a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. In 2018, Bobby Powell was honored by the Florida chapter of the American Planning Association as Legislator of the Year.
Our collaboration with CUES has helped transform our city's landscape, enhance mobility, the quality of life for residents, and pave the way for a brighter future for West Palm Beach. I'm proud to say that West Palm Beach has been a leader in addressing many of these issues, working toward a more sustainable and equitable future for all of our residents. In partnership with Dr. Renne and other stakeholders, we have been able to educate residents about the real impact of climate change using virtual reality. The city and DDA have collected data on how visitors and residents move around our city. I would venture to say that we are the most walkable city in the county. We have set ambitious goals to become a carbon neutral city by 2050, invested in resilient and green infrastructure and mobility options, and implemented policies to address the affordability of housing for our workforce. Tonight, we gather here not only to reflect on the past accomplishments, but also to envision what lies ahead. As we face pressing issues such as climate change, urban development, workforce, or what I call essential housing, and social equity, the role of CUES becomes even more critical. Together, we can build upon the foundation laid by this esteemed institution, forging a path toward progress, resilience, and inclusivity. But we cannot do this alone. Collaboration between universities, local government, businesses, and community organizations is key to creating a thriving and resilient city. I'm so thrilled to see so many of you here tonight who share our vision for a better future and are working with us toward making it a reality. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to the visionary leaders, passionate faculty, diligent staff, and enthusiastic students who have contributed to CUES' success over the years. Your tireless efforts have made our city a better place, and I commend you for your unwavering commitment to making a difference. As we celebrate this milestone, let us also recognize the challenges that lie ahead. Let us pledge to work hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, bridging the gap between academia and the community to address the complex issues facing our urban environment. Together, we can build a sustainable, resilient, and equitable city that future generations will be proud to call home.
You heard earlier that I am the only AICP certified planner in the legislature. This is true. And the real reason I came here tonight is because if you've watched the legislature, raise your hand if you've watched the legislature, you realize that the legislature could use more planners. So as Lentzy and Tyler from Urban Design know, I'm not really here just to talk to you all. I'm also here on a recruitment trip. So get ready. I'm trying to bring more good people into the legislature, but more good people into politics, because planners have the opportunities to deal with health, the environment, transportation, sea level rise. Like I just saw the kind people to show me the virtual reality, which was a little bit scary. I tried to swim, but I was going nowhere. And Marco, good to see you here too. And some of the things that we're dealing with. I'm excited. I remain excited and cautiously optimistic about the future. I can tell you the main goal of a planner is to serve the public interest. And in this position, as we continue to move forward, that is what I will work to do. I'll continue to work on your behalf. And thank you for having me here tonight. Ryan Britton's here. Ryan and I work together in Tallahassee, Ryan from FAU, to do the number one thing we have to do in Tallahassee. Anybody know what that is? Pass a budget. And for FAU, we've gotten a lot of dollars in the budget year after year. Thank you, Ryan, for helping me do, it is a song that says we be getting to the money. So for getting to the money, thank you all for having me. Remember this, a life of service is a life that counts.
Jim Murley is a former director of the Joint Center and CUES, and he's currently the Chief Resilience Officer for Miami-Dade County. He spent over 4 decades working in public policy important to Florida. He was the founding executive director of the 1,000 Friends of Florida, which is a statewide nonprofit organization that's focused on sound community planning and protection of natural resources. Jim has a very important job because Miami-Dade County is at the front lines of climate change and sea level rise. And Jim is a national expert on these topics and working to put millions of dollars and public policy decisions on how to protect one of the most important metropolitan cities in the United States. Jim Murley.
I want to start with Joint Center for Environmental and Urban Problems. So why the Joint Center? Why? FAU was here first, and later came Florida International University. John DeGrove and Governor Graham fought like hell to keep the second state university from coming to Miami. They knew that in the competition that goes on for dollars, 2 state universities they're going to make it, and that evidence of that today. But the University of South Florida was supposed to be in South Florida, and it was in Tampa. That happened before FAU and before FIU. So this long battle that the senator and governor and John struggled, and they, that night in the bar, they said, okay, we didn't win those first battles. We'll just take care of this by joining FIU and FAU in the Joint Center. That's literally how the combination came together of two state universities and two leaders of the time and have left us great legacies, how the Joint Center got its beginning. That's what I worry about in Florida now, is who's thinking about the future. But that's why the Joint Center was created, to create that place between two great universities. And they were, what, both of them were on two former World War II Air Force bases, you know, in buildings that still were Air Force buildings. So there was a long way to go to where they are today. But that was the foundation of that. So I first met John, because my first job was at the South Florida Regional Planning Council, just short of the 50 years here, 1974. And I came from Washington, D.C. To be there at the council. And John was at the Joint Center, just up the road. And he was infusing everybody that was going on with the new legislation that had passed in 1972. It's hard to remember that word development of regional impact. But that's literally the way Western Palm Beach County, Western Broward County, Western Miami-Dade County, they developed because of that new law that had passed and the kind of foresight that Governor Graham. So those laws were a function of that forward thinking of those two individuals and others that laid the groundwork for other laws that are going to come. John was dragged up, right? Mr. O'Connor, dragged up from his position in FAU to become, at the Joint Center, to become the Florida Department of Community Affairs Secretary in the second four-year term of Governor Graham. And in that term, and in a period of time between 83, 84, 86, that great body of growth management laws passed. Those are not perfect laws, right? Those are the best people could do at the time with the best ideas that we had. And they ended up to be sound in many ways, but in other ways they fell victim to other agendas. 1,000 Friends of Florida was really a dream of Nathaniel Reed, who lived just up the road, John DeGrove, Governor Graham, and Phil Lewis. If some of you guys from West Palm Beach knew the former Senator Phil Lewis. They saw the need to have a private organization that monitored what was happening with those laws, and they saw 1,000 Friends of Oregon, and that was the model they used to create 1,000 Friends. The Abacoa Institute is a product of a gift made by the MacArthur Foundation to the university after they had decided to take a farm field that John D. MacArthur owned, which is what Abacoa is today, and through working with planners and others from the community, plan literally the community of Abacoa, bringing policies and architectural ideas that some grew out of new urbanism, but others, it was a combination of things. And they dedicated the land for the MacArthur campus and put the endowment in place so that the Joint Center would have that research position there. So that, and the MacArthur Foundation also put the center into a pathway of working regionally, reinforcing the connections between the Treasure Coast region all the way down to Key West. And there were a lot of different lines that were drawn, mapping out different kinds of planning areas. But in reality, the region that really functions is certainly Palm Beach down to Miami, but it really does include those 7 areas. And that regional context became very important to the Joint Center and became supportive of many other planning theories that have happened since. We need to do more here than just honor the legacy of Dr. DeGrove. I will give my check over to become a founding member for the John DeGrove Scholarship Society. But the really important honor for John DeGrove would be to make CUES even more vital and active, the civic place where decisions can be talked about with good data coming from the university and solutions given to the state senator and other elected officials. That's the way to honor the legacy of 50 years of CUES and the great leadership that Dr. John DeGrove brought this community.
Susan served as a graduate researcher at the Joint Center from 1972 to 1975, and thereafter she pursued a career at the South Florida Water Management District, She was inducted to the AICP College of Fellows, which is the highest distinction the American Institute of Certified Planners bestows upon a planner. I met Susan when I first came to FAU. I think we served on a committee together to select a dean of the former college that we were in, CDSI, and I got to know her very well. And I can say without doubt that Susan is the hardest working retired person that I've ever met.
I want to talk a little bit about what it was like in the old days of the Joint Center. That is a time when there was no internet at all. Everything was, written documents, personal relationships, which was very important as far as working with John was concerned. What a lot of us back in those days didn't realize was what kind of a window was opening up in terms of growth management and water resources and all those other related things that come with that. No idea of what might come to be. And working with John, really opened your eyes. That was the first year that he went to Salzburg to teach in the European program over there, which was primarily planners and related professionals from throughout Europe, trying to help him create the slides that he used in that lecture. It meant going to the library and reading the congressional record. We were interacting with a lot of different types of local governments and regional governments and state government. That was the time that Florida, we were looking at what was considered to be the largest urban counties in Florida at the time. What that meant was 100,000 population or more. Compare that to, how things are now. It meant that included Polk County. It included Escambia, as well as what were considered the traditional urban counties. It meant also working on a lot of American assemblies. It was a great opportunity to interact with a lot of different people not just in the state of Florida, but in the southeastern region. And it just exemplifies the extent to which John had influence and the extent to which the Joint Center had that kind of influence. And also just the breadth of activities that it was involved in.
Nancy Stroud served as a senior researcher at the center from 1978 to 1982, and she currently leads the law firm Nancy E. Stroud, PA. Nancy is also a fellow of the American Institute of Certified Planners, and she is a highly respected land use attorney and author as well.
And I'm delighted to have a few minutes to talk about the launch of an effort to create the John M. DeGrove Endowed Scholarship at FAU. Susan Coughanour, Susan Trevarthen, and I had been working together since before COVID, can you imagine, to find a way to honor John's memory and his legacy to FAU and to growth management really throughout the world. We were joined by Jesse Saganor last year as a planning committee, and we settled on the idea of a scholarship fund housed at the FAU Foundation to fund at least one annual scholarship to a student in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning. So the foundation coordinated with us and created a GoFundMe page. You can find out more about that from the flyers available here tonight. Here's one of them at the desk in the lobby. Our immediate goal is to raise $30,000. And I want to thank the 5 persons who stepped out with me as founding members to contribute $1,000 each year to get this started. Susan Coughanour, Henry Bittaker, Susan Trevarthen, and Tom Baird all have pledged, as well as has John Renne, to contribute $1,000 to the next 4 years as well. What a great way to honor John DeGrove and the legacy that he left us as students, as colleagues, as beneficiaries of the system that he helped to establish, to create a more functional and beautiful community. Thank you.
Raphael is a two-time graduate from FAU. The first time in 1995 and the second time in 2002, he earned his Master's of Urban and Regional Planning degree with tuition provided by his Environmental Growth Management Fellowship at the Joint Center. Raphael was honored as a distinguished alumnus in 2019 of FAU, and he currently serves as the Executive Director of the Downtown Development Authority of West Palm Beach.
Some of you may not even know it, but so many of you in here have inspired me and informed me and helped me grow as a professional, and I want to say thank you. I also, Dr. Renne, my neighbor and friend, want to recognize the incredible impact you have had in bringing the CUES Center to the community so tangibly and so visibly, and you know, even right here in downtown West Palm Beach, the visibility and the impact of the program is truly impressive and in a short period of time, so you should feel very proud of what you've been able to do. Let's give him a hand. I think it was the Joint Center then, between 2000 and 2002 as an Environmental Growth Management Fellow. I had incredible mentors and teachers there. Yap Voss, Dr. Prosperi, God bless him, he was the hardest professor I ever had, and he was awesome. He loved to ridicule us, but he got the best out of us. Dr. Murley, Dr. Colo, and I really didn't know what I was in for as a professional, obviously, when you're at that point on your trajectory of entering your professional life. But my education and my time there really set me up well to be a professional working in the field of urban planning. And not just with an education and with sort of a vision of what was possible and the value and the importance of what we do as urban planners, but with passion. And I have come to see all these years later, 21 years later, that I think being passionate about what you do is more important than your education and more important than you know, your exact career path. And that grew out of what I saw with the professionals and the people that were involved at the Joint Center way back then. And I couldn't even place a value on that because it has truly inspired me in my career, and I think has given me many more opportunities than I would have had if it was just sort of some run-of-the-mill group of folks teaching urban planning. So if I was to leave anyone with advice, if any of you young folks are students here, what you do as professionals really matters and really makes an impact on your community. And as I tell my kids, those Marvel comic people might be the heroes of today, but urban planners are the heroes of tomorrow.
Lentzy was a graduate researcher in our center from 2018 to 2020. He was honored by the American Planning Association in Florida chapter as the Outstanding Student of the Year when he graduated. He earned his master's in 2020, and he joined as a planner for Urban Design Studio working here in downtown West Palm Beach. And I've just been so proud to see Lentzy's career flourish as a professional. So Lentzy.
So when I was, as Dr. Renne mentioned, a young whippersnapper at UCF, just graduating, I had an idea of what planning was. I took a few minor classes in the program, but didn't really have a full concept of it. So luckily, through an internship at Urban Design Studio, and through Colleen's guidance and Susan's guidance, they said, hey, maybe you should check out FAU for the graduate program there, and it turned out to be a wonderful decision. FAU does a fantastic job of exposing these students in that program, not only to the decision makers in the community from a planning perspective, but also hands-on projects that really expose you to the professional world. And from where I was coming, I didn't really have much professional experience, so they prepared me better than I could have ever imagined, and I'm super appreciative of it. Some of the neat projects I was able to work on with Dr. Renne in the program was transit-oriented development research. We worked on some community outreach and survey research through the sea level rise virtual reality simulation, which you guys see over here, which is really, really neat work. And probably my favorite And again, really hands-on work in the community was in the warehouse district at Jefferson Terminal District, where the Grandview Public Market is. And being able to, again, work on hands-on items that you get to see the fruits of as you go. So again, I'm just super thankful to be a part of this program. What FAU does a fantastic job of is really caring for their students and wanting to see their growth. I see some of my older professors here, Dr. Lee and Dr. Mitsova. And it's not just me, but it's my other colleagues and peers and past students that I see working all over the county, all over in different public and private firms. And it's just really encouraging to know that the people I went to school with are going to be the next future planners and decision makers ahead. So again, thankful to everybody and happy to see the continued growth of CUES and FAU.
Contacted Professor Coughanour in 2017. I found out about planning. I just read a little bit about it, and I was interested in the program. I wasn't sure. I didn't have a planning background, so I wasn't sure if that was the right direction for me. He gave me permission to take one graduate course. I didn't really know where I was going, like professionally, and so I took this one course in planning, and I really liked it. So by the next fall, I was a student of urban and regional planning at FAU, and today I'm an entry-level planner, and I am forever, forever grateful for Professor Coughanour, for FAU's urban and regional planning program, and for the CUES, which I have learned about more recently. And it's just great to connect with other planners and be part of a movement that's helping create better communities.
I graduated with my master's degree in urban and regional planning from Florida Atlantic University. I had the opportunity to be a graduate research assistant in the Center for Urban Environmental Solutions, and I am super excited that I got the opportunity. I was able to do research on sea level rise with the virtual reality, and it was such a great experience, and I'm grateful for everything that FAU has done.
So I came down from up north in snow, and sitting at the beach at Boca Raton, and realized there was a university there. I had some knowledge from one of my professors in Pennsylvania, describing the community and the growth management program. Had I ever heard of urban planning? So I looked into the program and enrolled. I had to work my way through school myself, so it took me a few years to get through the university. One of my odd jobs was working as an ambulance attendant in Boca Raton. And I went to the hospital, the Boca Hospital, and the ER nurse, her husband was the chief planner at the Boca Raton Planning Department. And she said, there's an internship opening. I want you to go over there. I've already talked to my husband about you. So I went over and I was hired. And I did the internship for, I guess it was about 5-6 months. Graduated on Saturday, started at the city of Boca Raton on Monday morning. Climbed up the ranks at Boca. At 25, I was the zoning official of Boca. Things that you see in the city today, there was no I-95. Glades Road was a 2-lane road. The stuff that I handled was the Arvida Park of Commerce on Yamada Road. There was the master planning for the industrial park. All the lands on Glades Road, I-95. So it was very interesting for a young man to get that kind of early education. Left the city, went to work for Westinghouse Communities, the designer and builder of most of northern Fort Lauderdale, the entire city of Coral Springs, city of Parkland. Again, you know, it was a wonderful experience working in the private side, actually designing and building communities from scratch. And that was my design phase. By 30, I was the vice president of the company. They sent me to Phoenix for a couple of years, gave me 16,000 acres and said, design a city. So lasted 2 years. Our land partner got into trouble and they brought me home, put me in charge of Parkland, and I was on the team that designed and built Parkland. So then when Westinghouse sold the company almost 30 years ago, I went into the consulting world, worked for some engineering companies for a few years, and I've had my own practice for 24 years, 23 years now. Well, the basic program, that I did, had to get to work. I did not have time to get a master's degree. I did the on-the-site training program, but the professors that I had at the time were in the early days of Boca, Dr. Tata, Dr. Lee, Dr. Schultz, who was the quantitative methods statistical guy. I ended up hiring him later on in my career, and he helped me do population studies in city commission districts. So you never know how you're going to interact with your professors and where you're going to meet up in the future.
I'm a basketball fan, so when I hear CUES, of course, first I think of CUES, the center, of course. Then I hear Syracuse and Syracuse basketball, and I think this is the only team that FAU didn't beat in its run to the Final Four, right? How about the Final Four? Historic moment for FAU. It was a very, very exciting and helped raise the profile of FAU across the country. It was that bold thinking, if you think about going to the Final Four as a bold movement that we were part of. Founding CUES was a bold movement that we were part of, and we think about a better tomorrow at FAU. 50 years ago it was founded, as we said many times ago. The university was founded 60 years ago. It's almost as old as FAU is. I do want to send a special thank you to the MacArthur Foundation. I know it was touched on a few times, for their donation of the $2 million that was matched by the state that really provided some of the additional funding. And it's really unique at a state institution like FAU. Philanthropy plays a huge part in our history and our future. That gift that helped CUES was based on because the MacArthur families was stated donated the land that the Jupiter campus became. The fact that we have the Wilkes Honors College at the Jupiter campus came from a gift from the Wilkes family, a $10 million gift that helped create the Honors College. We can go on and on about the impact of philanthropy at FAU. And it really started when we were founded 60 years ago. As planners, I think you would appreciate this, the state said, okay, you can start a university, but they did not give any money for planning or design of the campus. So, kind of ironic. So the city, the leaders of the city, the state told them they had to raise $100,000 before you can really open the doors. So obviously no alums, we weren't a college, we weren't a university then. So the city rallied and raised $300,000 when they were supposed to raise $100,000, and that's what really started FAU. So it was founded on philanthropy, and that has continued through today. In about, December 6th of 2022, so what is that, 6 months ago, we launched a fundraising campaign, the first comprehensive fundraising campaign in 20 years at FAU, called Transcend Tomorrow, and we have a bold goal of raising $600 million for Florida Atlantic University. There's 3 priorities of that, and all of them have been touched on here today. One is, it always starts with our students, so scholarships. So the John DeGrove Scholarship will be part of that initiative to help raise money for our students. Second is health. Again, I think that's been talked a lot about here, that the way that planning the most walkable cities, that's better for your health. And the last one is really why we're here tonight, is the environment. So that is the third pillar of our campaign. FAU, its history, its legacy, CUES' legacy, we're really investing in the environment and all the work here and the work of Dean Forbes. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Dean Forbes. She joined FAU as the Dean of the college, the Charles E. Schmidt College of Science in August of 2022, and she's a coastal oceanographer by training, and her research is in the field of environmental and risk assessment, and I had the honor of being part of her, the interview process for the search, when we were searched for the Dean. As soon as she left my office, I called the provost and said, stop the search. We found our Dean, because she is awesome. So, Dean Forbes.
We are a prime location to study the environment and its intersection with urban areas. With the Atlantic Ocean, Everglades, and numerous freshwater ecosystems all converging in the largest metropolitan area in the state. We are on the front lines of grappling with impacts of climate change on our habitats, sea level rise and flooding in our cities and neighborhoods, anthropogenic effects from a growing human population encroaching on wild areas, just to name a few. These environmental challenges pose a threat to our ability to safely live and thrive in this region. And not only does the environment impact human health, in South Florida, the environment is key to our economy. Tourists want to visit, people want to live here because of the beauty and uniqueness of our natural ecosystems. Understanding and addressing environmental and urban issues are essential for maintaining and even growing economic opportunities in this part of the state, which is one of the many reasons why our research and academic programs are so important. It's thanks to the powerful research and academics from the Schmidt College of Science and highly active research centers such as CUES that we can ensure our communities remain resilient in the face of climate change and the many related risks. The College of Science is one of the largest and most diverse colleges at Florida Atlantic, with academic and research opportunities available to our students on the Davie, Jupiter, Boca Raton campuses, as well as in the Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute in Fort Pierce. We have 8 departments and over 41 degree programs with a research portfolio that extends from computational neuroscience to natural products chemistry to astrophysics to cybersecurity to urban planning and much, much more. All of these areas uniquely position the college to engage in multidisciplinary studies, and CUES is the embodiment of this, with collaborations not only with multiple departments in our college, but also with the College of Business, College of Nursing, College of Engineering, College of Medicine, and the School of Architecture. The multidisciplinary and team-based approaches that CUES embraces are key to solving some of society's most complex challenges. And I appreciate the outstanding alumni speakers this evening who exemplify one of the core missions of the college, preparing students with high demand and critical scientific skills. The premier planning programs offered in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning and expert faculty within the department are graduating the next generation of planning professionals, policymakers, and leaders who will truly shape our future. On a related theme, I have some exciting news to share with this group. This fall, we are launching a brand new School of Environmental, Coastal, and Ocean Sustainability, or ECOS for short. Yes, let's clap for ECOS. ECOS is a partnership between the Charles E. Schmidt College of Science and Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute. CUES is a prominent research center that will be a key component of ECOS moving forward. Our vision is to become a leading nexus of environmental education, research, and community engagement across public, private, and nonprofit sectors. We aim to create a resilient future that prepares for and lessens anthropogenic impacts on South Florida ecosystems and human communities. Our goal is to enhance opportunities and bring forth the collective environmental capabilities of FAU and beyond. ECOS will serve as a hub for numerous academic offerings and interdisciplinary research areas related to the environment, so stay tuned. Investing in research, teaching, and community engagement related to the environment is a top priority for the College of Science. We're prepared to invest our resources in moving this important work forward, and we hope you will join us in this collective effort. To wrap up my remarks, I just want to say that we could not be prouder of John and his team at CUES for continuing to lead the way with this long-standing center. CUES is forging the path that will lead to a more resilient future, and its contributions are especially impactful for us in South Florida.
We came here tonight for a few reasons: to commemorate the past, to enjoy each other's company with food and drink, and to think about the future. And we heard from Nancy and others about the DeGrove Scholarship Fund. When I learned about it, I said, I want to commit to this. I'm going to commit $5,000, over $1,000 a year for the next 5 years. And we ask a lot of you, if you can do that, to also please support that. Now at FAU, we have the distinction of being one of the most affordable urban planning programs in the United States, if you're a state resident. And my vision for the future, and the step that we're taking here tonight is the first step in that, raising $30,000, then hopefully $50,000, then hopefully $100,000. But if we can, over the next few years, raise about $2.5 to $3 million, we could probably announce that we're the first tuition-free urban planning program in the United States, and thereby attracting the best students to come study in our Department of Urban Regional Planning and have fellowships at CUES like all of you had. So while I encourage you all to make a donation tonight, and that, again, that donation doesn't have to just be a one-time donation. I mostly encourage you to go out and to talk to others and to tell them about what we're doing. Contact us, let us meet with them, and let us make this vision a reality.
We have been working very hard on resilience and sustainability and trying to ensure that our communities here in South Florida can be a model for how to thrive from a quality of life standpoint, which includes planning for environmental issues, a thriving economy, addressing our transportation issues in terms of traffic and mobility, and creating healthy communities that provide opportunities for all segments of society. And the work that we do touches upon issues such as land use planning, transportation planning. We look at climate change and sea level rise. And we look at everything from policies and plans and engaging with the community, and we take advantage of modern technologies like virtual reality and developing apps in order to be able to try and provide planners and communities and elected officials and mayors with the cutting edge technologies to engage with their communities to address these particular issues. We're very excited about the work that we're doing in South Florida and also beyond Florida. And we hope that working with local elected officials and with developers and nonprofit organizations and government agencies, that we will continue to honor the 50-year legacy that our center has embodied in South Florida, well into solving the current problems of today and into the future, as Florida is one of the fastest growing regions in the United States, faced with some very, very complex environmental challenges. And CUES is a leader in being able to help with all these issues.